Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen.
So the big question for today, this week, is what is your favorite mode of transportation and why? Well, this was an easy one for me because I love taking the train, and pretty much any kind of train. I don't think I will accept a trolley because even though it's on a track, it's in the street and it's annoying when you're not in one. But it's also, I don't like being on it. I don't like the first time I was on and I got yelled at to step down. I didn't get a nice crew telling me to step down. You know, in the back of the trolley when you leave in that middle door.
That's because if you don't step down, the door's not going to open.
Right. But I was young and green
Well,
then. But
that's how you learn.
I was recalling bad memories of like slipping on the trolley tracks when it was raining and everybody on the trolley laughed at me. But subway, I guess, is like, okay. The L was kind of sketchy. I like monorails and like the Chicago Loop. And mostly I have like, I don't know if I have a bucket list, but if I did, it would definitely have like taking a cross-country train trip or like around the country train trip. I used to fantasize about riding freight trains. I had a friend who did it for a while and had a great experiences. And I don't really care for the other modes. I think walking is okay, but it's the one where you have to do all the work. I like when you have like a skateboard or something where you do a little bit of work and then you get to, you get to go a little faster without doing anything. But the train, you can read a book on a train. I used to do stuff on my laptop, like music stuff with headphones. Like I had to take 2 trains to work, which was annoying, but I've never done like a sleeping car train. I want to do like they're so expensive. I don't know. I think second place would be boat, but train on the water. Well, anyway, I also like the movie Darjeeling Limited, which features trains heavily.
Dan, was your friend who used to ride the rails named Carl Panzram?
Not anymore.
Okay, we will establish then that Dan did not know Carl Panzram. I think he would have been gone by the time you were born anyway. What? No, Carl Panzram was a mass murderer. Not mass murderer, serial killer.
But like a hobo?
Yeah, he was a hobo serial killer. Yeah,
he killed hobos, or he was a hobo and he also a serial killer.
He raped other men, and which is a big hobo thing. That's where and the Rock Candy Mountain. That's where the term punk and gunzel and stuff like that.
Are they homosexual?
Real problem. I'm not joking. It's a real and they actually mention it in the original lyrics. The Big Rock Candy Mountain. That's a thing. Yeah. But Carl Panzram was just frightening. But he would ride the rails and.
I can definitely tell you that's not the guy I knew.
Yeah, all right. No, it wouldn't have been. I think Carl Panzram died in like the 40s or something. Look that up, people. Get to work on that.
I'm going to throw in a quick plug. My friend Mike Hall is the fellow I'm talking about. He's a great artist who lives in Austin, Texas. You guys may have met him when we played that weird like Renaissance fair.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I'm still suffering from the effects of that. Dave Blood used to, you're talking about trolleys, Dave Blood, because, we had no money back in the day. He used to amuse himself by getting a bunch of free ketchup packets, and then he would line them up on the trolley line out by University of Pennsylvania, out by 40th and Spruce or whatever. And then the trolley would come around and hit them. The packets would explode and shoot the ketchup all over cars that were parked there.
That's like that. That's another thing. I have so many fond memories of like playing around train tracks, finding like abandoned buildings by train tracks and flattening coins on train tracks. Walking across a bridge with train tracks and wondering like, do you have enough time to get to the other side? If that's fun. I also my parents' house was pretty close to train tracks, so I always found that sound kind of like soothing, like.
When I was a kid, we lived near train tracks, and we used to go over, and the back then the trains would be traveling along, and they'd have like coal, but they would have the little like Coke pellets, you know, the hard. And we used to collect them because they'd fly off the train. We used to collect them, and they were great slingshot ammo for.
And plus, railroad spikes are pretty cool. And then when you bring it home, you're like, why did I keep this?
I like them. I like railroad spikes.
And what do you do with them though? You got to clean them up, maybe some CLR.
And there's some Bucky fan right now is writing in the comments about spike because of railroad spikes.
And CLR.
My friend Phineas Gage had a railroad spike. All right, that reference people get, but not Carl Panzram.
Well, that's all, folks, for my answer.
All right, I guess I'm next. So yeah, I'm gonna play off that. My favorite mode of transportation would be like subways or elevated systems in cities, particularly. I've been fortunate enough to have ridden subway systems in the following cities: Philadelphia, New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., London, Paris, Berlin, and Rome. And all have their pluses and minuses. The Philadelphia system is pretty easy to get around, and Rodney's probably very familiar with the subway system. I used to ride it every day when I went to art school in Philadelphia. It's got two lines, a north-south line and essentially an east-west line. And actually where I live, west of Philadelphia, there's a streetcar trolley that goes in front of my house. I could hop on it and I could ride it down to 69th Street, and then I could get on the subway and get into Center City. So that's pretty convenient.
What street would you ride it down to?
69th Street. Nice. The London Underground is amazing. It's got 11 lines. It's over 250 miles in length. That's pretty cool. It's way down underground. If you go to London and take the underground, you're going to get an escalator, several escalators, and go down, down, down under the ground. It's pretty amazing. The Paris Metro is great. We were in Paris a bunch of years ago, and basically we bought a multi-day pass, and it's the cheapest, best way to get around Paris, because you can just hop on the train and just go everywhere. And you know, all the stations are like interconnected, so it's awesome. And I remember riding the Berlin U-Bahn with Dave Blood when we played in Europe in the early 90s. The Berlin Wall had just taken down a couple of years ago, and so we got on the U-Bahn in what was West Berlin, and we rode it into East Berlin, and then we came back to the west through the Brandenburg Gate. So I remember that riding with Dave. And the Rome Metro is very simple. It's only got 3 lines. We were taken, my family was taken by someone we knew from the hotel we were staying at to see some fireworks, and he like rushed us into the subway, and we got on the subway. We had no idea where we were going, and he told us where to get off. And we walked and walked and walked, and we saw these fantastic fireworks that have not been equaled in my lifetime in terms of what they look like. Anyway, so yeah, subways and elevated systems. That's my favorite mode of transportation.
Yeah, I'm sorry about taking down the Berlin Wall. I was drunk. What can I say? I don't think anybody really gives a rat's ass what my favorite form of transportation is. And I hate everything, and everybody knows that. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about my grandfather. A lot of people, and there's a lot of reasons to be down on the automobile, and you'll see where I'm going with this. But my grandfather, and for a lot of working class people like him, that thing was a godsend. My grandfather used to have to walk for most of his life, walked to work until he's able to get his hands on an affordable automobile. And now I'm telling you that part because I have to tell you this story. Not many years ago, maybe a decade back, I can't remember where I was, if it was a party or backstage, I was telling the story about my grandfather having spent most of his life walking to work, no matter what the weather conditions were. And this young lady completely did not understand this. And she's like, "Oh, your grandfather walked everywhere. He was so in touch with nature. Was he a Native American?" I'm like, no, and no. I'm like, this is generational poverty I'm trying to explain. Why? I realized why she couldn't get it. And I was like, no. And also people, and this is just a little bit off, but I've actually known a lot of Native Americans or several who really didn't care about the earth. They didn't hate it. They were just kind of iffy on it. So if you're one of them, we want to hear from you in the comments. Native Americans don't have special powers. They're regular human beings like us. They're not the elves of Rivendell. So where I'm going with this. Oh, while I'm on the subject of bourgeois people who don't understand, or bougie people who don't, or bourgeois work, who don't understand stuff. What I don't want to see in the comments is you fucking rich pricks who got to take a gap year and bum around Europe, writing about how inexpensive and effective Euro-rail passes are. I don't give a fuck. Go fuck yourselves. Go take a gap year and go work in a factory like my grandfather did. Walk to work. You'll feel in touch with the earth. People will ask you if you're a Native American. You'll probably say yes. I have a dream catcher. I'm clearly. Oh God, yeah. It's just one of those things that pisses me. I know I went way off topic. I'm going to go off topic one more too.
You know what? Speaking of off topic,
wait. Before I go off topic, one more time. I just want to say I hate those rich people who spent a year or so living in an ashram. They can go fuck themselves too. So that would be my preferred method of transportation, me putting my foot in some of these people's asses. There we go. Thank you, Dan. I'm glad I feel better now.
Yeah, I'll allow it.
Yeah, you're not bumming around somewhere if you can afford to take a year off and do nothing. There's no bumming involved there.
I was just going to say, I don't understand why people put dream catchers in their rearview mirror in the car. Unless they sleep in their car.
That's
it obscures their vision.
Yeah, and they don't catch dreams in it because they're driving awake.
Like George Carlin pointed out, statues of Jesus. Everybody always has them on the dashboard facing at them. No, make them look out the road. We're all dangerous.
There's a deer coming in like 5 minutes.
I wonder if there's a multi-car pileup and these EMTs are reaching in there going, another dream catcher. When will they learn?
Dreaming and driving doesn't mix.
A really dark episode. Yeah. I should just shut up and allow Joe to make it even darker.
I like transporting myself. I like walking. I've always enjoyed when I lived in towns where I could actually walk and for a purpose, like to go shopping and walk, or to walk to work is fine too.
Do you ever go walking in LA?
Nobody walks in LA.
Yes. Love that band. The last time I toured in LA, Coolsey and I went for a very long walk, actually. It was really pleasant. But that was just for fun. Because we drove around in a car, really, because we couldn't carry our gear everywhere. So there's, I also like trains, just like, I guess, Dean and Dan. I did take a train to Baton Rouge, New Orleans, or the sleeper car once, and I can say it's kind of fun, but it's a little easier to sleep on a sleeper car in a train than it is when you're just in a seat and you're sleeping, because I also took the same train without a sleeper car. But I was going on a fishing trip, or to meet my friend in Baton Rouge to go fishing. So I had my fishing pole, and I didn't realize it was in the wrong spot. When I pulled down my sleeper, it snapped my fishing pole in half.
And again, you're not speaking metaphorically, right?
No, it really
you're regular
I'm not speaking metaphorically.
Okay, still good. All right.
Pole. So I decided fishing wasn't for me. I did go on the trip. He had another pole. Fishing pole that I could use. Fishing pole. I mean, not speaking metaphorically. I like trains. I like all kinds of trains. I like kayaking. I don't do it very much, but it's great when you're in a place where there's an island and that's the easiest way to get to, or taking a ferry boat to an island. That's fun, but I don't do that very much because it's not where I live. So I'm going to go with my preferred method is walking. That's what I enjoy, my own self-ambulation.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. You know, I know it wasn't like a music-related topic, but
It doesn't have to be. It just has to be
No.
something I can yell at people.
I like driving in my car because it's like a big MP3 player to me. I listen to more music in my car than anywhere else.
yeah.
I don't have a car. I'm the only one I think on the panel doesn't have a car.
Okay,
So
you,
more like my
you
grandfather.
don't need a car. I didn't have a car when I lived in Philly.
I feel like being on a train for a really long time, I feel like I could handle that better than like a long plane ride, because the flight, Joe, that we took to Australia, that was ridiculous.
You don't want to take
Waking
a
up-
train. If we took a ship to Australia, it would have been way longer.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like waking up and like looking out a window and, you know, it's just the sky. It freaks me out. Like I had moments where I was like, I felt like panicky because it was 15 or 16 hours, I think.
Yeah,
It's packed too.
Well, you
Yeah.
get some of those back. Some of those hours.
I don't like flying, but it's the most, you know, it's practical, I guess.
Yeah, it gets you there faster.
if you're on,
I
a
like
ship
you.
to
I would like to
Australia-
take a train across the United States sometime. I've taken them to Chicago, to Baton Rouge, to New Orleans, I mean, but I've never gone over the Mississippi, I guess, that to see what it's like for that. I don't know. I would like to. And I would like to take that train in Alaska because we've on a tour there, we've ridden by the train many times, but we were never on the train. I thought it would be really good to be on that train. That looks cool.
If you take a ship to Australia, you're going to ride all there with all the prisoners being transported from England to Australia, and it's just no. And it's horrible. You know, somebody's like, "Oh my God, he's got a knife," and somebody, "That's not a knife, mate. This is a knife." And it's just, yeah, don't.
That's something I never experienced as a long ship. I've only been on ferry boats, really.
Being on a houseboat is interesting because when it's flat calm and you're on there, you forget, and then you like look out the door and you're like, oh shit.
And that's how I snap my pole.
Maybe
All right.
we should move on to
Yeah, we're gonna
recommendations.
Tell me better. This episode's filthy for episode.
I mean, I have more stories.
It's absolutely filthy.
Do you guys remember this time we were in Chicago with the defoliants and we took the Chicago elevated, and because we didn't have money, they used our passes and then they threw them down off
Yes.
the.
Yeah, so
and
we can use
went
them
through,
again.
so yeah.
breaking the law, breaking the law.
I would recommend we're put a YouTube link for a song that is very relaxing and it's like a loop where you can meditate to it. Do that. But also, I guess I have recommended my friend Mike Hall's art page. I think he has an Instagram.
You reminded me, I'll add it to my recommendation. There's a whole series of train videos on YouTube where it's just basically they put a camera up
Yes.
in front of the train where the driver sits. And one of my favorites is like an 8-hour or 10-hour trip from like the coast of Norway to Oslo. It's like over the mountains and through the snow. It's absolutely amazing. You have to check it out. I'll find the link and post it.
I think you had recommended that before, either on one of these or in person, because I think
Yeah.
I watched part of
I've
that.
watched a bunch of those. They're really good. Dean, have you ever seen the ones where they'll have a camera set up near like a train junction? And it's really cool to watch. I watch them sometimes late at night, and then all of a sudden they'll start getting really bright. That's the lights of the train coming. Those are really cool.
I haven't seen those. You'll have to provide a link.
They're obscene.
Right.
They're on the adult channel.
My actual recommendation for this week is a YouTube video that asks and answers the question, can Lego play the drums?
I saw that.
And the definitive answer is yes, Lego can play the drums.
Ooh.
So you'll have to check it out. Somebody built this amazing little Lego contraption that actually plays a drum machine. It's very ingenious. So check it
And
out.
Nick
So
Batt's
it's not a Lego drum set.
No.
It's something totally different.
Yeah, it's like a sequencer, but Nick Batt was asking if they could adjust the swing. So, yeah. Hey, sometimes the junction has a headache and the train has to go back. But anyway, filthy episode tonight. All right. The New York Times of London recently stated that Sha Na Na never appeared on Happy Days. That was Flash Cadillac and the Continental Kids. Exact words, Marcia. Exact words. All right. It's time for music that you won't see on the radio or hear on TV. It is spooky season, people. And you need some spooky music to go with spooky music. And the stuff you folks are listening to right now, and I'm going to guess like the Lumineers and John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band or whatever. Yeah, it ain't cutting it. It ain't making it. So I'm going to recommend the band Ritual Howls. Ritual Howls are wonderfully scary, and they actually have an album coming out now. Actually, it's coming out November 11th, but you can kind of preview it now. It's a 10-year retrospective. So yeah, Ritual Howls, crank it up and scare your neighbors is my advice on that. The next thing is on Shudder. It is a thing called Queer for Fear. As a straight white old man, and most of you probably couldn't guess that looking at me, but I'm a straight white old man. Shocking. I'm always fascinated by how other groups of people interpret horror, because horror is very subversive. It says things are not right, and sometimes as a straight white male, you have to reach a certain age before you go, hey, things aren't quite right. But they had a series called Horror Noir that was fascinating. Right now, they've got Queer for Horror. I've only seen one episode. So if it does end up turning me gay, I'll write down which episode it was, and then we will figure out what caused that. First, we thought it was refusal to dissect frogs, but no. So yeah,
soy milk too.
Soy milk too. It's a big list of what people think will. But I'm really, episode 1 was really interesting, and of course they talk about Oscar Wilde. They talk about Mary Wollstonecraft Shelley. So it was really, really good, and I like that. And then. Last thing I don't usually recommend stuff of my own, but I'm going to recommend that you folks might want to follow me on Instagram, at least until the end of the month. I've been doing a thing called 1 Million Years of Halloween, and each night I post a movie that I suggest you watch. Tonight I'm posting, although by the time you see this, it'll be out there for a few days, the 1970 BBC production of Robin Redbreast, which is pretty damn disturbing. It is creepy. There's a guy in it called Mr. Fisher who talks about sherds. So yeah, check that out. And there's always my radio show if you need spooky stuff. All right, we're down to less than 10 minutes. So Joe, take it away.
I would like to recommend practicing. If you want to get good at something, practice it. Repeatedly, do it on a regular basis. 9 times out of 10, you'll get better. And if you don't, I guess it's tough luck.
This episode, my God. I'm going on a 30-day fast to cleanse my body and soul.
I'm gonna swallow cheesecloth.
Well, I never heard it called that before.